these legislative dinners I've been to now, but it seems like it's been about every other one. Me and Linda Andrews there for a while seemed like we would take turns coming. So we appreciate, one, the invitation and the good food. That's always a hallmark of a good Farm Bureau event. But more than that, we appreciate the Yadkin County Farm Bureau recognizing their elected officials and thanking them for the service that they provide. It's important for the work that we do at the North Carolina Farm Bureau on your behalf. So when folks like myself or Linda Andrews, when we work with our members of Congress, when we work with our state officials, when we help you work with some of your local officials, even our judges every once in a while, it's important that they know that Paul Sherman's not there talking about what Paul Sherman wants. Paul Sherman from North Carolina Farm Bureau is there to talk about what Jeff Smith back in your district is interested in, or what Justin's interested in, and what those policies as farmers that they've adopted and they've asked me to help them with. And so it's important for things like this for me, selfishly, because it helps the organization as a whole, that your elected officials know what's important to you on a yearly basis. So I appreciate the County Farm Bureau holding this event every year. Last year we understand. We're just all happy to be able to get back together and hug necks. Just kind of quickly, I'll hit a couple highlights. You've got all the people here that actually do the work to talk about some of the legislative actions that have been going on. But I do want to take a moment just to hit a couple of the highlights. On the federal level, first I will thank the two folks from the U.S. House here in the room today for all the work that they are doing to try to help protect us when it comes to things like inheritance taxes, stepped up basis related to that. You have good representatives that know how important that is to farmers. They know how important it is to business people in general, but they really know how important that estate tax issue and stepped up basis, how important that is to you, so that you can continue for generations being able to continue your farm. So I want to thank y'all for the work that you're doing trying to help protect us on those types of issues. On the state level, it's been an interesting year. The General Assembly passed a Farm Act, and it wasn't terribly controversial for a Farm Act, right? It wasn't too bad, and didn't have anything to do with hemp this time. It took 2 years to get the last one passed because of just a minor hemp argument, and now we're talking about medical marijuana. So it's how the times change. But there were a lot of good, common sense regulatory reform issues for farmers in that Farm Act, as there always are. Some things of note: there was a provision in there related to driver's licenses for H-2A workers. For those of you that use H-2A labor and try to get driver's license for those workers, it's gotten to where every year they come in, you've got to take them down to DMV, then you go through the process, get a license. Well, it's going to expire at the same time that the visa expires. So 9 months later it expires, they go home. But we all know that 90% of those same workers come back to the same farms year in and year out. So there's a provision in that Farm Act to allow DMV to set up a process where they can write a driver's license for 3 years for those visa holders. Again, if the visa expires and then they don't come back, then the driver's license will go away. But it saves you a lot of time and effort as far as having to go and try to get a driver's license. We won't, folks that have been tested, have insurance, things like that. Those are the ones that we want on the road driving, and so this makes that a lot easier. Also, from a budget standpoint, just because of the federal COVID relief assistance dollars that have come down, the North Carolina General Assembly has used a lot of that to benefit North Carolina farmers. One of the programs that we're real proud of, that the Department of Ag's been doing, I forget the acronym for it now. Even if I remembered the acronym, I wouldn't remember what it stood for. But it's money to help expand these local processing facilities for livestock. We saw during, especially during the first couple months when we had some real supply chain issues at the grocery store, things like that, the interest really jumped up on local processed meats, and we realized that there was a shortage of shackle space for some of those local processing, and so now there's an ongoing, and I think we've now put, the General Assembly has now put 3 rounds of funding into that, and maybe getting, more than likely, if we get a budget again this year, we'll probably put a 4th round of funding into that to help cost share with some of these local processors so that they're able to expand and process some more local livestock and get that out into our markets. Again, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm happy to talk about any and all issues y'all want to, but I want to make sure we got plenty of time to hear from some of our great elected officials. But again, I thank you for recognizing how important the work they do for you is, and taking this time every year to thank them. And so with that, I'll sit down. Thank you. I'll look forward to talking to everybody a little bit more later on.
All right, I'm going to just be a little bit more brief than Paul was, but I'm glad he didn't take up that full 2-hour time limit that I gave him. So, but before I get started, I do want to recognize Audrey Bishop is here with Congresswoman Fox. She's the district director for the Congresswoman's office. So glad to have you, Audrey. Thank you for being with us tonight. My report on our legislative activities is pretty brief, but as I was kind of thinking about tonight and getting things together and everything, first of all, I realized that y'all are the first group that I've spoke to in probably 18 months. So, y'all get the squeaky wheel, I guess, so tonight. So I'm out of practice, I guess. But, this event is to me, it's very important that we do it. At the beginning of COVID, there was a lot of concerns and a lot of questions, and I know, Paul was getting them in the state office, and I was getting them here in the county office about markets and accessibility to markets and a lot of things going on at the local level and what was going on. And so the first thing that we did was we put together a conference call. And Senator Sawyer and Representative Zachary were quick to hop on that call with us and just hear from some farmers and be able to discuss those issues. And I believe that was March or April. I believe that was early on. I mean, there was some concern going on there, and so we appreciate both of them, being on the line in the new meeting room of Zoom at the time, and hearing the concerns of our farmers and taking that back to the General Assembly and working on our behalf. So we appreciate them. And then as time passed. Coming into the beginning of this year and the CFAP money and the issues that came up with that. We were hearing a lot from poultry farmers and the concern that poultry farmers had and being left out and, all the issues that came from that. And so we set up a meeting at our Farm Bureau office. That was probably actually one of our first actual face-to-face meetings again. And, so if you're wondering, typically when we have this event, our member of Congress is typically the only one that's here, and that is now Patrick McHenry. And Will is here with his office, and Congressman McHenry told me that he had a prearranged vacation with his family, and so he wasn't able to be here tonight. But what happened in that meeting on February 5th was we got involved and engaged with Congressman Budd's office. And of course, we already had the relationship with Congresswoman Fox in her office. And between the three of them and Sam and Kyle and Will, just an all-star cast, honestly, of people that wanted to know the concerns of agriculture and the concerns of farmers here in Yadkin County. And, you guys went to work, your office, Congressman Budd, your office, Congresswoman Fox, your folks, Will, and y'all went to work, and while we still don't necessarily have all the answers, there's wheels turning, I guess would be the way to put it, and I think people are aware of the concerns that farmers have as it relates to that. So, thank you for being here, Congressman Bud, thank you for being here. Congresswoman Fox, you're a longtime friend to all of us here. You're welcome anytime, and now you're welcome anytime. So she knows she's welcome anytime, but I want to tell you that you're welcome anytime. So, and so that's basically all that I've got. But just like Paul, thank y'all. Thank you to the farmers that are in this room. I can't tell stories by myself, and it takes y'all being with me and helping me out and helping me understand things and being available to discuss the issues that you're having. And these folks like hearing from you. And I know I'm looking at Congresswoman Fox and Congressman Bud right here in front of me, but I don't want to slight the two United States senators either. Mike Finley and Stephanie, they were part of that all-star cast that we had with the CFAP stuff. Both of them have been great as far as sending information and keeping us all up to date. So we appreciate everything that we get, and we appreciate the relationships that we have here.